Mr. President, last week the Washington Examiner published an article highlighting Democrats' third filibuster of this new Congress. That's right, you heard it, third. The party that mere months ago, literally, was gleefully making plans to destroy the filibuster is now using the filibuster left and right. But as we know, for Democrats, it's one rule for me, another for thee. And as the Washington Examiner piece made clear, some Democrats are even embracing their hypocrisy. You use the rules that exist, one Democrat said. I might advocate for a higher speed limit, but I still observe the speed limit until it's changed. Well, okay, Mr. President, but are Democrats still crusading to abolish the filibuster while Republicans are in charge? The answer is, of course not. Because abolishing the filibuster isn't about principle for Democrats. It's about political advantage. So Democrats will unashamedly support different rules depending on who's in charge. Now, Mr. President, I could spend my whole time today talking about Democrats' rank hypocrisy when it comes to the filibuster. But I also like to talk about the content of the bills that they filibustered and what that says about the Democrat Party. Mr. President, in a few short weeks of this new Congress, Democrats have filibustered 3 bills. The Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, the Illegitimate Court Counteraction Act, otherwise known as the ICC Sanctions Bill, and the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. The Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act was a simple bill. It simply stated that a baby born alive after an attempted abortion must be given the same protection and medical care that any other newborn baby would be given. That's it. You would assume such a bill would be entirely uncontroversial. Democrats may not believe in protecting unborn human beings, but surely they still believe in protecting born human beings. But as it turns out, protecting born human beings, at least when they're born alive after an abortion, is not on the Democrats' priority list. In fact, every Democrat in the Senate, every Democrat, without exception, voted against this bill. And I'm afraid the sad truth, Mr. President, is that Democrats are so deeply concerned with preserving the supposed right to kill unborn babies, they couldn't bring themselves to protect born babies, for fear that it would eventually lead to recognizing the humanity of the unborn. And all I can say, Mr. President, is that a party that is so committed to killing unborn babies that it can't vote to protect born babies is nothing short of morally bankrupt. So that was the first bill that Democrats filibustered. The next was the ICC sanctions bill, and that was another straightforward bill, Mr. President. It would have sanctioned foreign individuals who are involved in international criminal court efforts to investigate, arrest, or prosecute U.S. citizens or citizens of U.S. allies that are not party to the ICC, or the International Criminal Court. The bill was a response to the ICC's decision to pursue warrants for Israeli officials. And it was also designed to protect Americans, and American soldiers in particular, who've been targeted by the ICC in the past. But once again, Senate Democrats, with one lone exception, found themselves incapable of taking a stand. Now, I'm not sure if it was anti-Israel animus, or if they were afraid of antagonizing the anti-Israel wing of their party, or if they're simply too beholden to big tech, which lodged some tenuous concerns about this legislation. But for whatever reason, Democrats filibustered the bill. And in doing so, they not only failed to rebuke the ICC for its illegitimate targeting of Israeli leaders, but they failed to protect U.S. citizens. Mr. President, the third bill the Democrats filibustered, and filibustered just this past week, I might add, was the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. This legislation was designed to restore the original intent of Title IX, which is giving women equal opportunities in education, by ensuring that women and girls and women and girls only are permitted to play in women's sports at federally funded educational institutions. The bill, of course, is a response to the growing problem of women's sports being invaded by biological males. And I want to quote for you something from an August 2024, this is United Nations report. Just last August, report from the United Nations on violence against women and girls, and it noted, and I quote, "The replacement of the female sports category with a mixed-sex category has resulted in an increasing number of female athletes losing opportunities, including medals, when competing against males. According to information received by March 30th of 2024, over 600 female athletes in more than 400 competitions have lost more than 890 medals in 29 different sports," end quote. Over 600 female athletes in more than 400 competitions have lost more than 890 medals in 29 different sports. That a quote, Mr. President, out of the United Nations report on violence against women and girls coming in August of last year. Mr. President, it's not even remotely fair. Girls should not be having to compete in races that are stacked against them. Women deserve their own athletic opportunities, opportunities that are not taken away from them by biological males who have their own spaces in which to compete. But try explaining that to Democrats. Democrats like to portray themselves as leading the charge on women's issues. But not one Democrat, not one, could bring himself or herself to vote in support of women and girls. Biological males, not women, got Democrat support last Monday. Well, apparently, Democrats' commitment to equal opportunity for women only runs so deep and quickly falls by the wayside when the left demands adherence to some new ideology. Mr. President, the outcome of the 2024 presidential election was partially a rebuke of far-left dogmas and ideologies. But apparently, Democrats have learned nothing from that electoral rebuke. Today, Mr. President, the supposed party of the little guy, the underdog, the disadvantaged, has become a party willing to sacrifice born human beings to abortion extremism and equality for women and girls on the altar of transgender ideology. I have to say, Mr. President, it is no wonder that the American people rejected them in November of 2024.